great honor for me to be here today and to receive this award. I am a religious Jew. I was born and raised in a religious family, and the first reference toward art that I was exposed to in my religion was, "No, thou should not make unto thee any graven image." Can religion and art live in peace with one another? In order to answer this question, I will have to ask, can either one of those exist on its own? Why cartoons? Why art? Why is it that some of us are stubbornly struggling for the existence of art and cartoons specifically? How is it that some of us are even willing to pay a great deal of price? After all, it is just a cartoon. It's not water, it's not food, clothing, or shelter. The much quoted cliché states no painting or cartoon ever stop a bullet from being fired. Actually, most people do not tend to believe that the artwork of a person who holds a pencil in her hand can leave his or her drawing table and change the world. But it has happened, and it is happening today. There have plenty of people throughout history that have left the comfort of their homes and have donated time to distribute food, clothing, money, homes, and sacrificed their lives for the benefit of others. They have an impact on public and private spaces because of art, be it a cartoon, a play, a movie, or a text. Because art tries to help humanity see the world in a new and different way, and hopefully motivate a change. Art can help us see the good and the whole, and the broken and the wanting. In a way, we are all part of the rhythm of the seasons. The trees, the flowers, the mountains, animals, and human beings. The moon rises and the stars shine upon us every night according to the grand plan in the horizon. Yet most of us pay little attention to that sight every night when we leave our home at night. It is art, though, that is able to crack the wall of routine and turn a very standard night into a starry night, into a dance and stroll under the skylight, where even the most settled person will find their heart a little lighter, enamored by the experience that a wondrous meeting with the greatness of the universe brings. Those of us that live in the world of religion, like me, know that that is actually a part and parcel of being a religious too, paying attention to all that was created in the universe. In Judaism, for example, each month we bless the sighting of the moon. And one of my fondest childhood memories on one of these nights was witnessing a group of worshippers dressed in their finest garbs suddenly leave the synagogue and take off to the street with prayer books in their hand. Whilst the gentle light of the moon gleamed on their heads, they lifted their eyes to the moon and back to their prayer books and quietly thanked God right there in the middle of the street for creating the moon, the time, the universe, and for making sure that everything keep on revolving according to plan. Now, this costume in non-monotheistic religions are similar. There is artwork that has documented and encouraged recognition of this costume. Take, for example, this 17th century Ottomanic painting depicting the search for the new moon, which represents the beginning of the new month in Islam. This painting demonstrates harmony and collaboration of science, religion, and art. It is an illustration that celebrates and reminds us of a time that religion was made whole by working together with art and with science, and together they made progress possible in the world. So both religion and art make our world a rich and living entirety, each in its own way. In my religion, as far back at the time of the first temple in Jerusalem, cultural celebration of creativity were part of the expressive way. However, every religious person knows that in time, religions create estrangement, a stupor-like state, even in the eyes of the believer. So in an ideal world, religions and art wouldn't be at war with one another. They would complete one another and challenge each other. They would be like a flock of birds flying in formation, wing by wing, beak to beak, on a common journey. Now, throughout history, there have been parts of religion that have closed or tightened the gates of their religion and caused their religion to put up barriers. During all that time, art in part made effort to connect humanity to its world, despite the hardships that were brought on when faced the institution of religion, government, or society. This is how artists and scientists began to cooperate for freedom of knowledge, creativity, and expression. This is a painting by Ynet, a French painter, that is describing a meeting that actually took place after Voltaire's work was banned and he was exiled from Paris. Such meeting, then, is not very different from what we are trying to do here today in this assembly in Drammen Theatre in Norway. where a meeting of the mind can encourage the sharing of ideas, stimulate discussion, and contribute to thought and action toward a better world. Now, the conflict between art and religion or other struggles is not new, not even when we look at the domain of cartoons. Cartoonists of the 19th century were thrown to jail for the crime of criticizing the king and the justice system, while they only drew fruits. The following day, and despite the threat of facing a similar fate, one of the newspapers, in an act of protest and solidarity, published a court decision like this, in the shape of a fruit. And so it is today. Cartoonists, bloggers, and activists in certain parts of the world face imprisonment, persecution, and death threat for criticizing the ruling class, like this four cartoonists. Athena Farghadani, who was just imprisoned last year, and other female artists have risen up in the past and in the present and have found ways to have their suppressed voice heard and to promote freedom in the world. Now, there are those who argue that freedom is a concept that is exclusive to the modern Western world and foreign to ancient religions. But I can personally attest from my own religion that Judaism is based on human freedom of choice in every given minute, and even the commandment that forbids creating an image in its wider context inside the world of art of Judaism, it hints on a deeper understanding that every work of art has the potential of becoming an idol, and a danger that threatens all life by becoming an object that was created for a ritual that glorified only one idea and threatened the ability to hear other ideas. This might be true in other religions. Today, we can find many women fighting for freedom and for change. They wisely take advantage of the ever-changing public sphere and the liberating power of globalization, of the internet, the word, the sound, the picture, that have the power to influence their community. They go further and they struggle for all humanity, and their spirit has inspired others and clarified their values in action in both the West and the East. Like them, young men and women, religious and secular, cartoonists, bloggers, photographers, have all caught the wind of freedom between their fingers and are spreading it throughout, even though the price is high. So where can a cartoonist surrounded by so many closed gates go in this world? Well, in a way, cartoonists are like street ninjas. They find a corner to paint on or in a subway, knowing that someone might see them and hear their voices. Maybe someone will even take something with them. So being an artist in general, and specifically a political one in our time, can be confusing and contradictory. We live in an age where the internet is the new public square. Words, ideas, sound, and pictures are all distributed at a speed never fathomed in the past, spreading freedom. Artists today are able to share their work widely and receive more recognition for their craft. In the last few years, there hasn't been a single newspaper that hadn't published without a cartoon in it. And today, posts, tweets, blogs, and Instagram join them. And their influence has grown as it has never grown before. Over and over again throughout history, there have always been those that dominated the media and lacked imagination, who preferred to be horrified by images and not by the issues that the artwork was drawing attention to in first place. We, cartoonists, felt it strongly last year. On the first day of the attack at Charlie Hebdo, many were shocked by the horrific massacre. But after only one day, the world's pain and horror were replaced by a confounding reaction to the cartoons, to the images, and not the murder. Those that would let the terrorists easily take away our voices and think that the world would be better off without it are wrong, not only because we cannot let the terrorists be the legislator of our society, but because we must assert that art is not technical, emotional, and unnecessary. Art can only grow and develop in the free environment from within human intelligence. And if you are a religious person, art grows from within the divine intelligence. In Judaism, the religion I was raised in, we also believe that the world was created as a work of art. In the word of a wise man, the words and speech that came out of God's mouth are what gave the world its skies, the art of the spoken words. So art generates changes. This is how 100 years ago in the Caucasus, when the Muslim world was exposed to the unusual satiric magazine Mola Nasruddin, despite the boycott and the threat, it went on and criticized the government, the religious leader, confronted the ongoing discrimination of women, and fought for freedom of knowledge. The magazine had its beginning in Azerbaijan, and in 1918, in Azerbaijan, due to the atmosphere that this magazine actively encouraged, women were granted the first right to vote. In Britain, in 1943, a painting by Laura Knight, Ruby Luftus, influenced a great change in society. After many, many years in which women were told that their place was at home, by the end of the war, due to Ruby Luftus, who became an icon of the era, over 2 million women were integrated into the workforce and in the public sphere. Whereas the majority of Americans during World War II preferred to hide inside their home and grieve for the ongoing war, it was Norman Rockwell that painted the 4 freedoms and reminded them of the ideals that they were living and fighting for. This illustration influenced many to join volunteer organizations and collect food, clothing, and money. Others were willing to risk their life for freedom cause and join the war effort. Now, in every period of history, art is faced with new challenges and how to express them. One of the challenges facing artists after the Holocaust was how to take on the responsibility of giving the lost millions a voice, how to produce art that both respects and serves as a living memory without diminishing what happened. Greater is the question, how can they restore belief in humanity and in art? After all, art was supposed to be the component of defense against the horror of humanity. I attempted in this cartoon to give a new and personal meaning to the human condition. I added color and life as a voice for the silence to illustrate what was and what could have been, and to reconnect symbols of life with hope that it would stimulate a new dialogue. Because that is the job of artists in our time, to make certain that issues are not ignored. And that is the question that artists should ask themselves today, not how to refrain from speaking out about one issue or another, but rather how to refrain from remaining silent and reinforcing helplessness, how to speak out, and how to, through craft, generate hope, strengthen the spirits, and renew discussions on the issues at hand. In Israel, during the 1950s, a cartoonist by the name of Dash created a character called Srulik. After years of the use of grotesque images of Jews, his simple line created a young and light-hearted Israeli, exactly as they wished to be, with simple clothes connected to its past by the old sandals and connected to the future through his hair that grows forward. Dash created a new character. Srulik was the nickname of Israel, the artistic antithesis of the demonic images that were used till then. A character that society would be able to celebrate and build upon. Now, just like society at large, or like one individual, there can be no future without the present and a past. Art, the free world, has no future without the present and the past. Now, many of us tend to use the word tradition when we speak about religion. Art, the free world, has a tradition of its own. From the cave painting to language to values in which we have passed on from a mother to a child to a family and to society onto generation. Our art is an expression of our human nature. And this is universal. Human nature, as we have seen from the Caucasus to Europe to America and to many other places, are ever expanding its reach toward the public sphere. This is the essence of the identity of society, the essence of being a democracy. Now, none of us cartoonists have formed an army. We have no multi-corporate companies behind us and certainly no governments. All we ask for at this point in time is that you, as individuals and as a society at large, demand and keep its identity, its tradition, our tradition of freedom to be knowledgeable, to think, to express, and to act upon our value. This is the only way to preserve, reinforce, and build our life in the present and in the future. Thank you.